Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kim Barrett Show. I am your host, Kim Barrett, and on today's episode, we have our second one of our Mogul series. And I have Mr. Tim Frey from Helix Gym here joining us. Now, in this episode, we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into what Tim's been up to, how his business has been working in the last year or so, what things have been working, what things haven't. So if you're someone who either runs a gym or you're someone who is just interested in seeing the rises and falls and the re-rises of business, this is the episode for you. Make sure you tune in. But until then, let's jump into the show. Mr. Tim, sir, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you making the time.
Thanks for having me. What an honor.
Oh, man,
what a setup.
Absolute pleasure. We had to bring you in.
Yeah.
I mean, this is only for you guys. You know, I don't do this for anyone else. This all comes down after today. But Tim, I have to ask you, if I met you out at a party and I was just chatting to you, you were in the corner just chewing on meat and I was out there having a sandwich and we're having a beer together and I said, Tim, what is it that you actually do? What's your go-to answer?
Man, I asked this on my podcast last week to someone who's in the same industry as me, and he said sports scientist, and I laughed because I was like, who introduces himself as a sports scientist? But I would say gym owner, entrepreneur. No, I wouldn't say entrepreneur. I would just say I help people with their movement, mindset, wellness, and nutrition, and to get their shit together.
So how do you help them get their shit together?
So in terms of training, I give them the best strength and conditioning program that money can buy. I give them simple nutrition advice, and then I intermingle simple NLP or neuro-linguistic programming in our events and program and how we do things.
Don't you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So when you're doing all of this though, I've got to ask, when did you make the decision? Because aren't you kind of almost known as the guy who has the most expensive gym in Perth?
Yeah, so when did I make the decision to do that? Let's take it back to the start. So I became a personal trainer, unqualified. My boss hired me, and I really had no idea what I was doing. So basically I was just getting people on the leg press. We were doing like 100 reps. People were vomiting, and then I was like, cool, I need to take this thing a bit more seriously. So I went to uni, did an undergrad in sports science, did my master's in strength and conditioning, moved to America, became an actual strength and conditioning coach, which I label myself now. I do introduce myself as that at dinner parties as well. Did some NLP, and then I was like, cool, there's a bit of a need for a holistic approach to this training thing, because a lot of people are just doing the training and then they go and smash Maccas and Nando's and, you know, do steroids and stuff like that. That's like one part of the industry. And then there's like the woo-woo, like mindset people as well, and they're like really far off the left field. So kind of bring them both together into something that the average person can do, and it's not too far to the left or to the right.
So like meditating while eating a cheeseburger.
Yeah, just something like that.
Yeah,
finding the balance between.
Yeah. And so what does that look like then for someone who's actually training with you? Because it's easy to say these things, but you mentioned, so obviously there's a strength and conditioning component, which is their physical movement.
Yeah.
What else is involved in like the average Helix Gym members programming?
Cool. I'll try to make this as simple as possible. I think it's simple, but so they come in, we do an assessment. In that assessment, we'll run through like a really detailed analysis of their history, what they're eating, what their self-talk is, what their goals are, what they want to achieve, and then we'll design the strength and conditioning program around that. On top of that, we just try to make it super simple with their nutrition, so they can hit their calories, hit their macros, hit the quality foods, hit everything that's going to make them feel good. In terms of the mindset stuff, that is coming through in the coaching. So we have a reassessment every 2 weeks with every member where they sit down one-on-one with a coach and they go through what went well, what's not going well, what are the problems and how we can overcome those every 2 weeks. We give them 3 action items on things to do. A lot of the mindset stuff comes in the workshops. So we run usually about 2 workshops a week. And that's going to be training, that's going to be mindset, that's going to be social, and they are all kind of catered around living your best life or becoming your best self. So we actually go on camps, we do retreats. A lot of those retreats are like mindset-based retreats, so we're doing hard training and mindset, self-development work on them. Hope that answers your question. I don't know where I went then.
Yeah. No, it does. It's good. It's funny what's involved, because it's obviously, if you look from the outside, if you don't know all those things, sometimes it's hard to discern when you're looking to go and train at some place, because it's hard to put all of that and wrap it all up in a nutshell and put it on a plane and go, cool, that's all the things that we do.
It's hard to market.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like when people are looking at it, they're like, cool, it's a gym.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, but it's not really.
No, it's, yeah. Even like with our ads and things we just advertise like 6-week program, come in, and then they just get a whole lot more than they bargained for on that 6 week.
And what do you think when people do come in, what's the commonality for people not achieving their goals? Because obviously you mentioned a huge array of things like from nutrition training, mindset, recovery, a whole heap of different things. What's the biggest area that you find consistently that people are, I wouldn't say lacking, but they kind of fall down in?
Excuses and just stories that they tell themselves on why they can't. Like everyone's got an hour a day. Like it's 4% of your day just to come in. If someone's coming in 3 to 4 times a week and they're showing up, they're going to be surrounded by like-minded people. They're going to be more positive. They're going to be happier. I think just like the commitment to actually show up is the biggest thing that goes wrong. Obviously, everyone says like nutrition's 80% of the picture. I would agree, but if your training is killing it, naturally you're going to do better on your nutrition. Naturally, you're going to feel better about yourself. Naturally, you're going to want to hang around better people. So I think it flows on from getting your training right is number one. And that's where the coaching comes in as one-on-one. If we're sitting there and someone's fucked their nutrition and their mindset's not in the right place, we just set them super simple goals like, hey, I want you to show up 3 times a week next week. What happens if you don't show up? You're going to do 500 calories on the assault bike on Sunday. And then they're coming in 3 times, and then we string that together for a month, and then all of a sudden you've got 12 sessions, and then they want to do better with their nutrition.
And so let's just say that someone's coming in, they're committing, they're doing their 3 sessions a week. What are some of the micro wins that you help people with nutrition? And another like follow up to that, I'll let you answer that, but like how do you find with people that, let's just say that they expend their willpower really easily. So you've got someone who's super busy all the time, and they get home and they're like, the last thing I want to do right now is cook a meal or make a good choice. Let's see what's on the old cheeky Uber Eats. There's just like, oh, just a salad and grilled chicken.
Yeah.
Like it's like, you know, it's a double short order burger with extra sauce.
Well, nutrition it's super simple in theory. It's about an energy balance or being in a negative calorie surplus to lose fat. So I'd say people with nutrition, if you're tracking, that's half the battle, because if you're tracking what goes in your body, you're going to be aware and consciously aware of how much you're consuming. If you're over consuming calories, you're going to get fat. If you're not, you know, you're going to lose weight, which is fantastic. But on top of that, it's like, it's the same theory as a car. It's like you put 98 petrol in it, it's only going to run so far, but you put the good petrol in it, it's going to run better. It's the same with nutrition. So the more ingredients there are in food, the worse it is for you generally, as they say. So we're just trying to look at whole foods and foods that only have 1 ingredient in it, throw them together. We got our carbs, protein, and fats. We've got that 3 meals a day. We've got some healthy snacks, and we're eating in a good energy balance. Then we're going to be on the right track with nutrition. If someone, I've simplified that so much, and nutritionists out there are going to be screaming at me, but you know, in the simplest form that
no nutritionists listen to this. It's okay.
And then if you're on the cheeky Uber Eats and you're like, cool, there's some tasty options on there, I would always look for the simpler stuff to eat, or the things that have calories that you can track. So my go-to is like a healthy Mexican bowl where you know it's about 600 to 800 calories in it. You're going to have carbs, you're going to have protein, you're going to have fats. Like Guzman Gomez, like they're high quality, I would say, fast food. The chicken is free range, their meats are from good sources, everything's local produce, and it's freshly sourced. So I would say like picking the options that are great. Everyone knows what food is good for them and isn't. Like people are like, yeah, what do I eat? And everyone knows, like they've been taught from such a young age of what's healthy and what's not. So I don't really buy into the fact that people are like, I don't know what to eat, when everyone really knows what they should be eating and what they shouldn't be eating.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And as you say, it just comes down to making those, if you make the better choices from the beginning and you start training, then it's like, of course, last thing, I mean, some people might, but it's like, you don't really want to go and have a big bad meal after you've trained.
Yeah.
Like, especially when, if you track your training and like, you know, I wear a heart rate monitor and I wear the Whoop band. So I see, it's like, cool, you know, yeah, there we go, Whoop bros. And when you go through that process and you're like, cool, I just burnt 500 calories or 1,000 calories, you're like, oh, then when you go to choose the next food, it's like, well, do I have a 1,000 calorie takeaway meal, or do I have a healthy 600-700 calorie, like very like specific meal? It makes it easier to make the choice, because you're like, oh, I know what the positive impact is going to be of not having the bad thing.
Yeah. It's funny you ask these questions, because I'm so in my like circle of people that everyone's so dialed in with their training and nutrition and mindset. So I don't get these like kind of simpler questions with nutrition. I just think it's like common sense, but it's obviously like the general
the big thing about common sense is not that common. I tell everyone, they're like, it's common sense. I'm like, no, it is not common sense. Otherwise, none of us would have any problems.
No,
like, Kim, how do I grow my business with marketing? Just run ads and make sales. Straightforward. Simple. Right? Like,
you've told me that so many times.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your business side as well, because obviously this year, probably be, for some people, it's been great and amazing and new insights. For other people, it's been a kick in the nuts. How have you found 2020 being that you're in the gym industry?
Yeah, if you had a brick and mortar business, you probably kicked in the nuts at some point through this year. I think in Perth, we were very fortunate that lockdown was like 9 weeks or something, so it wasn't too bad for us. But yeah, it was like, it felt like the biggest dagger to the heart when we went down in that initial COVID period. Business, yeah, we probably lost about 60% of business throughout that period. And then after that was just a rebuild. So we're pretty much back to where we were before then. But like, I'm just super grateful to be in Perth compared to brothers and sisters in Melbourne and Adelaide and these places that have just, you know, gone back into lockdown or closed or whatever. But yeah, the fitness industry has been great. I think before this, the fitness industry was like the Wild West, where people would just get like a 2-day certification and they'll become a trainer and they were like, I'm open for business, pay me $25 an hour, and we're laughing. And then like, you know, the general consumer would be like, all right, I can go to this person for $25 an hour, or I can pay you $150. It's like, why would I pay you the $150? But a lot of those trainers have gone out of the industry now, which is like, it was a bit of a flush, which was kind of fantastic. Not saying that's a bad thing, but I think it's been a great reset. And the people that are in it for the right reason, or great operators, they have survived. And people that are in it for the wrong reason or wanted to get out, or not great operators, they have been flushed out of the industry. So I think like the quality has risen as a whole in the fitness industry. A lot of people got to try the online thing. And before COVID, everyone was like, I want to be an online trainer. I want to sit behind my laptop and do macros and calories and write training plans and just have like not many contact hours. But everyone could try that. And personally for me, I ran Zoom workouts for like a week and I was like, I'm fucking over this. Like, I don't want to do this. I got my team to do this. This is much better. And then I just managed the business. So yeah, COVID was super tough. I think the ramifications of COVID were felt more after, when everyone was coming back and, you know, we had to make some changes. We were only allowed 9 people in the gym and we had a client base of 200 people. So like, people were going to miss out on sessions, and then people were angry and we had to put up prices and blah, blah. It was a drama.
Yeah. So over the last year, obviously, as we mentioned before as well, you're one of our moguls, you're now mastermind. What did you, and I asked the same question to Steph, what did you think it was going to be when you came into it?
Well, your amazing salesman, Ken, took me out to lunch, wined and dined me. He bought me a $45 steak, which was fantastic. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Kim, for that. And he kind of was like, yep, if you want to master Facebook ads, you can learn from Kim. And I was like, I want to master Facebook ads. And Facebook ads excite the shit out of me. Like, I love Facebook ads. So it was great to learn Facebook, Instagram, what worked, what didn't, how to test, what all the stats meant, all the behind the scenes stuff, because I knew that organic traffic or organic reach or referrals was only a small part of how I was going to grow my business. And the fitness industry is super competitive, so I needed every edge I could in business. So I want to learn as much as I can about everything, and then I want to farm that out to other people to work in my business for me. So I need to have a good understanding of the mechanics of business and marketing and sales and finance, which I've learned a lot from you guys in the sales and marketing component.
So is that what you really got out of it? The core for you has been like the Facebook ad side of things, or was there anything that you got that you didn't think you would get?
Well, every kind of mastermind has been fantastic. It's taught me something, which is great. I'm terrible at going back and just watching videos and do it. So if I'm doing it live on a call, I'm like, cool, I'm going to take action right now and do this thing. And it's done. And then I've implemented that in my business, and my business has grown because of it. I think, yeah, we've had 4 masterminds together now. I prefer the in-person ones because I get to talk shit with you in person and all the other crew, which is fantastic. But I think the last one was great with the podcast. What was his name? Charlie Valor. Yeah, so I started a podcast, got 128th in the health and fitness segment on my launch, which was fantastic. And then have kind of carried that out to once a week podcast, which is great. And I've got, you know, hundreds and thousands of downloads on my podcast.
Yeah, amazing. And so obviously with 2020 being a, let's call it a so-so year in business, what's 2021 look like now that you know what this is like? And obviously as well, you know what it would be like if, you know, touch wood, that doesn't happen again. But if something was to happen, you know what the experience is kind of like.
Yeah.
What's 2021 look like?
Man, that bit of me just died when you were like, what if that happens again? I was like, oh, I couldn't handle that. Not another time. The heartbreak was real. My partner and I went through a million emotions in the last 6-month period. We
I'm going to work for Steph now, be a salesperson.
Oh, yeah. Literally, we spoke about it. I was like, yeah, I'll just work for you. It's going to be way simpler. But 2021 looks like a year of growth for us. So we were going to move into our new spot, which was like the dream facility. COVID kind of kicked that away. We lost the building and another gym took it, funny enough. So we had a couple more deals that fell through recently, but 2021 is going to be moving into our new spot and then building the gym that I always wanted to build. We've kind of finally got the team. So we've got a sales guy, which is fantastic. We've got a really good marketing guy. We've got a head coach who's really good too. And then we've got some other trainers, which are fantastic. So it's going to be the year of growth. In a fitness business, to take it past 6 figures, you need to have a team. And without a team, you can't really make the million or go towards that, which has always been my goal for fitness. So I think getting the one facility to that 7-figure mark is the goal for 2021 and changing 10,000 lives.
Beautiful. I love that. That's amazing. And now if anyone was listening to this and they go, cool, maybe I want to see more of what Tim's up to, or maybe they're in Perth and they go, hey, sounds like I want some of that. I want to be able to meditate and eat a cheeseburger or whatever it might be coming down to Helix. What would be the best place for people to connect with you?
So our Instagram is popping at Helix Gym, which is fantastic. The team run that, so I'm not on that at all. If you want to connect with me, at Timfrey, 2_ or www.helixsp.com. Contact us on there and we will have a 15-minute chat.
And what's the question that I didn't ask you today that I should have?
Man, I was listening to this before and I've heard this in all your podcasts and you've just stumped me because I should have had something to say here. But maybe what has been the biggest hurdle in the last 10 years?
What's been the biggest hurdle in the last 10 years?
Would be getting out of my own way and stop limiting my own success by my own bullshit.
Yeah. So how did you do that?
Well, I started journaling on it. I started talking to other people about it. I started asking for honest opinions on what I'm doing right and wrong from my community, my partner, and the people I work with.
Yeah, and so that helped you get out of your own way?
100%.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, NLP as well, like studying NLP and doing my master's in NLP. Obviously, I had coaches along the way, and getting coaching on that was awesome as well, because subconsciously, you don't even know what you're doing wrong unless someone shows you or you can see it in yourself.
Love that. So guys, if you're watching this episode and you loved hearing what Tim had to say, maybe you know someone out there who has a fitness business that you can share some of the takeaways with. Or if you're in Perth and you know someone that's like, hey, maybe they need something a little bit more than just going to the gym and just going to a personal trainer, and they need maybe a community, some support and some areas for them to grow across all of the areas that Tim mentioned, make sure you share this episode with them so that they can check out what Tim's up to over at Helix. And of course, you guys should all go and follow him. And we'll put all the links up or down wherever you are in the show notes for you guys. See you all next time. And Tim, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate making the time.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.